Hello and welcome to Arcadia. FYI, I'm Christine Zito. I'm your host. I have a great show for you, so stay tuned for that because this is what it's all about. It's why it's called For Your Information, about the city of Arcadia, things going on outside the city of Arcadia, because we all are one big happy family, like I always say, in this valley. And thinking of that, I have coming up very soon, is some very special musical guests. You're going to like them. They're local. They're famous locally. And they're going to bring in their instruments and they're going to share with us some of their music and where they're going to be performing next. It's really, in fact, we're going to even probably go on location and see one of their performances. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I would like to thank our sponsors, Longo Toyota, Lexus in El Monte. I know, you have to go down there, check it out. They're on this huge acreage of cars and trucks, and you never know, you might find your dream car there. Star 7 Financial with Francine Chu, the Santa Anita Park. There's a lot of things coming up in the new year. The Olympics is coming very soon at the Santa Anita Park. We had Pete in here talking about that. And the Le Méridien Hotel here in Arcadia and Pasadena. Alrighty. If you're listening on your favorite podcast channel or you're watching on YouTube, you see I have a very special guest here in studio. He is with the city of Arcadia, and he's on the city council. Councilman David Fu, welcome. Welcome to Arcadia.
Thank you very much, Christine. I'm very happy to be here.
I am glad that you're here. Boy, we have a lot of things to cover today.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's dive in.
Okay, first let's talk about a little bit about who you are. Were you raised here? Were you born here? Anywhere on the planet?
You know, I ask myself those questions every day. Was I really born here? I'm a good old-fashioned American. I was born in New York City. Moved to California when I was 5.5. Lived in L.A. until I was 12, and then moved to Beverly Hills. I grew up there through the middle school and the high school. And I've been living here in Arcadia for about 11 years now. But before that, raised my family in the West Side and so on. So,
are you a New York Yankees fan, New York Football Giants fan?
You know, you're confusing me with somebody who has time on their hands. I played football in high school. I was a wrestler. I used to play tennis and tons of golf, but I gave that up when I started to do a lot more serious public service. And it's amazing. Your life just came back to you. You know, I used to play 70 rounds a year probably. And, you're 2-a-days on Saturday, 2-a-days on Sunday. My ex was a golf nut. And, the 19th hole, hanging out with your buddies at the club, all that stuff, drinking a lot more than you're supposed to, all those things that go along with it. And when I ended that engagement, I decided that, I'm going to quit playing golf because I was playing really bad golf for years and years and years.
Well, how long did you play golf?
I started when I was 12, but
and you just recently gave it up?
About 10 years ago now.
Oh,
and
okay.
I got my whole life back because it's amazing how much time that I believe the term of art is time suck. That is a huge time suck to play golf, between trying to practice and again hanging out. Even if you're serious about playing golf, you try to play privately because the public golf courses take like 7 hours to play one round of golf. And, in a private course, you can kind of zip through, you can be done. I think our record time was like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
On an 18 hole or a 9 hole and going around twice.
18 holes, yeah. I mean, you can just zip through there really quickly because a lot of time there's just nobody out there. But, it still takes a lot of time out of your life. And so after that, instead, I worked for the state bar, and I worked on something called the Jenny Commission. It is the judicial selection process for the state of California, and what that is it's a statutory body. It's created by law, and you advise the governor's office conducting a confidential investigation of anybody that the governor wants to appoint to be a judge in the state of California from the Supreme Court down. It's required by law, and kind of interestingly, the backstory about that was that when Jerry Brown did his first spin through the mansion. One time, he left the state to go on some business trip. And back in those days, the lieutenant governor and the governor were not necessarily from the same party. They weren't linked. And so at that time, the lieutenant governor was Mike Curb from the Mike Curb congregation.
Okay.
You recall he was the religious right, and he was the leader of that fundamentalist religious singing group.
Good old days.
back in your other life. But so when Jerry left, Mike said, "Hey, I'm the governor now," and he appointed a bunch of people to be judges. And when Jerry came back, he thought, "Not on my watch." So he had to find a way to unwind that, and there came a kind of fairly large political brouhaha that came out of it. So out of that controversy was born the Jenny Commission, which is the Commission on Judicial Nominees Evaluation. And because of the timing of that vehicle, it prevents somebody from committing a kind of a midnight appointment that doesn't have to go through some process. The commission is independent. It conducts a confidential investigation. There are specific rules. And what I tell people actually is that Jenny commissioners say it's the most fascinating work you'll ever do in your professional life.
Bet.
In fact, you should try it because I think you would really love it. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
Imagine you're playing a parlor game.
Okay.
Except your rules are codified under the government code. Violating them is a misdemeanor. You're sworn to secrecy. You may never tell anybody about the investigation or any subject matter of the investigation, past, present, or future. You will make decisions that affect the lives of millions and millions of people going forward. And you'll be dealing with real life situations. It is the biggest freaking onion you have ever seen because in life, there are a gazillion permutations to things that happen. And it tests your sense of what is fair, what is right. You have rules that are, again, they're codified and you are to stay within your lane. There are specific things there. But when you apply to be a bench officer in the state of California, you sign a comprehensive application, which is called the personal data form. And what happens is that when you sign it at the end, it says, I am authorizing the State Bar of California to climb up my derriere with an electron microscope. And you can ask for anything, employment records, arrest records, tax records, health records. I mean, anything. We don't do it very often, but you could ask for anything in the pursuit of finding out whether or not a person is qualified for the bench. It's remarkable to do. You will participate in the selection of Supreme Court justices, the justices for the courts of appeal, all the superior courts in the 58 counties of the state of California. It's remarkable, and 20% of the commissioners should be laypersons. It should be what are called public members, so they're not lawyers.
Okay, so people that are... Okay, so...
Someone like you.
Yeah, someone like me picking a judge or choosing or... saying that this person is qualified.
Well, so what you do actually is you arrive at a rating. So to give you a little bit of sense of the process, the application is reviewed. Based on the application, there's a top secret way that an investigation is launched, and electronic requests for information are sent out to people who are likely to know what the qualifications are of that applicant. From there, you conduct the investigation, and what you're trying to learn is there are usually between 6 and 8 qualities. It's job-related health is one of the sort of less weighty
we don't want
kinds of
judges
things.
dying on the bench as they're ready to
It happens,
sentence someone.
but it's your judicial temperament, it's your legal acumen, it's your community respect, your ability to be free from bias, and things of that nature, which are important.
Oh my gosh! You see, you just opened up a whole can of worms on judges on the benches today, and who puts them there.
Well,
But
that's the thing is that when you go through that process, you're only trying. The only thing you can do is judge what you believe a person will be like when they are then appointed and are enrobed.
Right, but some of
but
the
you don't really
judges
know.
are elected there.
Well, that's very interesting because at the state bar, and I spent a lot of time at the state bar, I was also the chair of the real property law section, and then I was not really quite a part of the state bar. I was served on the judicial council after I left the commission. You can only serve for 4 years if you serve as the chair. So I was the chair of the commission. Most people are limited to 3 years. But what you find out is there is a body called the Commission on Judicial Performance, and that is the disciplinary body that investigates sort of acts of malpractice and malfeasance by bench officers, by judges. And what you find out is somewhere around more than 80% of the judges who are disciplined are actually elected and not appointed. So what it shows you, and we'll get to this about the election in a minute, is that elections are beauty contests.
Yeah.
Appointment is different. Appointment is somebody looked at you, somebody knew something about you, and they said, I think this gal or guy is going to be okay. And if he doesn't or she doesn't, it's going to be an embarrassment to me, the person who put him there. And so people are very careful on appointment. They're very careful to make that appointment, and they're very careful to behave after they're appointed. And it tells you, and we talked about this a little bit before we got on camera, where I came from is very different from where I am right now.
Yeah, because this is quite the journey. Because I have so let's go back. So you were born in New York, you come to the West Coast, well, let's get into, oh my gosh, now you got me. Now there's so many questions I want.
I've got you.
Yeah,
I'll find, your mind is just spinning. I can see those wheels grinding away.
I know. I want to go somewhere and I just can't. So let's talk about who you are today in the city of Arcadia.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
It's okay.
So you bring your family here. Do you have children?
I have children, but they're not children. We're waiting for grandchildren right now.
Waiting for grandchildren. Yeah. Did your children graduate from Arcadia High School?
They did not. They went through, I joke with people that I never went to private school. My kids never went to public school. Oh. My kids went through the University Elementary School at UCLA, which is legendary if you know it. Now they call it the Lab School.
Yeah.
From there, they went on to Harvard Westlake. My wife's daughter, whom I consider to be my own, is a school counselor today in the Covina School District. And she grew up in Walnut and grew up in the Walnut schools. Woo! But our kids are
Walnut High School.
Both sides.
Right
yeah,
here.
All right.
Yeah, Walnut High School, go Mustangs. So now that you reside in Arcadia, because I do want to get to who you are as a city councilman, what encouraged you, bribed you, or for you to run for city council? So
I never had any kind of aspiration to do this kind of thing. Politics is a strange creature. And although I have an ego like anybody else, I didn't have the kind of ego that said that I need to get out in front of people. I mean, I get to do that anyway in different respects. And so I didn't have any burning desire to do that. When I was campaigning, people would ask me, so why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And I said, it's because I have this history of public service. It's not because I think it will make me special. And what I would say is, and I believe it to this day, is if you think serving on the Arcadia City Council makes you special, you don't get out very much. It's a great honor. It's a great honor to be elected by the people of your district to say, we believe in you and we want you to represent us. There's no question about that. But in terms of gratifying my ego and making me think that I'm better than somebody else, you're totally wrong.
Well, I didn't even know about David Fu until you started running.
Well, exactly. And believe me, plenty of people don't know about me now. Okay?
Yeah,
it's just the way it is.
I do want to say that I didn't even address this. You are a lawyer and you do business law. I'm
mostly a real estate lawyer,
okay.
And mostly a real estate litigator. I was an investment real estate broker
before I became
a lawyer.
Can you lower my rent?
Nobody can do that. Not even God can do that. Yeah, that's a tall order these days.
I know it is. I would love. Well, maybe we'll have time to.
Well, it's part of one of the questions that we talked about before about affordable housing and ADUs and what's the status of that, and that's a long, complicated question.
It is a long, complicated question, and I know it's been something on the city council that has caused great challenges. Now, being on the city council now, and with the makeup that's all there, and all the different personalities, how challenging do you think it is to be on city council?
You know, Arcadia is a wonderful city. Okay, and I don't just say that because somebody elected me to sit here. You know, we have an amazing town. We are the sweet spot. Okay, it's a Goldilocks thing. Okay, we're not so big that you're just an anonymous number someplace like when you live in Los Angeles. We're not so small that we don't have our own police department. We don't have our own fire department. Not only do we have a top-notch police department and fire department, but we have the Arboretum, we have a regional shopping center, we have Santa Anita. You know, it's amazing for such a small city, 56,000 residents, to have so many attributes that really set it apart and enable us to do things.
And a great high school, great education.
And one of the top public education systems in the country, right? So, and that is what I talked about at council as being the virtuous circle. Okay, it's that we have amazing schools, so people want to live here. Yeah. Because people want to live here, they compete to own homes or to rent here. Because they do that, we have very strong, very steady property values. Because we have strong and steady property values, we have a lot of tax revenue. And that tax revenue then goes back to support those schools. So this is it's the confluence, the stars are aligned. It's just the right place in the universe for us. We have a very safe community. It's beautiful here in the foothills. I mean, it's Mecca, okay? And so because it's Mecca, we don't really have a lot of really serious problems, but we have a lot of dumb ones that people create, okay? And that's part of my my crusade.
Yeah.
Okay?
And before we get to your crusade, because I think one of the biggest problems, and with me being a small business owner here in downtown Arcadia, is the homeless. I mean, I wish I could do something. I mean, my heart goes out to them. But when they block the door or, I mean, I've asked every council person that I've had a chance to talk to. I mean, I know there's not like the one and all perfect solution to it, but I mean, how would David Fu address this situation?
So, and I don't want to minimize this, but anecdotally, I believe that the homeless situation in terms of disruption and people affecting businesses is gradually improving.
Yes.
Now,
I do agree with that. Thank you to the Arcadia Police Department.
Right. Well, and there's an old political science joke that says somebody who's mugged once is a liberal and somebody who's mugged twice is a neoconservative. Okay. Oh and the thing about, and I'm 65 years old, okay, and that you getting pissed off about things will make you illiberal. Okay. And so I think that we all share the same view that our heart aches for the unsheltered, for people who are suffering from mental illness, from the fact that these people are living in squalor and they are uncared for and they have a variety of health and other and mental maladies. That I think that there's no one, you're not human if you don't think that's a problem.
Yeah.
The question is what do you think is the appropriate remedy? And that depends a lot on how many times you've been mugged, okay? So, because the reality is that we live in a country of laws. Our political philosophy is that personal freedom is pretty much number one on our list. And because we have personal freedom, we may not abridge that freedom for people who really probably need more help than we can legally provide them. When you look at the statistics on homelessness, what you find is that roughly a third of people are suffering from mental illness. Roughly a third of people are suffering from drug addiction. And I always say that if you're not crazy now, living on the street for a month will make you that way. And if it won't drive you to drugs, then, nothing will, right? So, but if you look at those numbers, what you realize is that there are people who live on the street, they say because they want to.
Yeah.
And But one of the reasons why they want to is because in order to be in institutional housing, they have to get clean and sober. And they don't want to do that. And we don't have the laws to compel that. We don't force people into rehab programs.
Well, it's like the housing issue. Some people think that we build more houses, it will solve the homeless situation, and it doesn't.
Well, so there's a book called Homelessness is a Housing Problem. Okay, it's written by two, I think, UW professors, and I commend it to your reading. And the theory, and I think it's fairly accurate, is that the cost of housing does ultimately drive homelessness. Not all homelessness, obviously, but a big part of it. And what they say is that they prove this by looking at the sort of the counter arguments. For instance, in other communities that have smaller unsheltered problems, what you see about that community is that some of them have really great weather, like we do in Southern California. One argument is, we have great weather in Southern California, so everybody comes here to be on the street, okay? But there are other places that have decent weather that don't have the magnitude of our homelessness problem, as an example. And so what they point out is that what is common to all cities with very large unsheltered populations is the high cost of housing. And what they point out is that there is a substantial portion of the homeless population which is unsheltered because they suffered from a financial shock. They were paying their rent, they were breaking even, they were hand to mouth, but then something happened. Their car broke down, they couldn't afford to get it fixed, so they couldn't get to work, so they lost their job, and within 90 days they were on the street. I have a question for you.
Okay.
What is the average age of a child in homelessness? Entering homelessness, pardon me.
Entering homelessness? I would say 2 years old.
You're very close. It's 1 year old.
Oh.
1 year old. Okay. But that's a shocking number to me.
That is a shocking number.
It tells
and
you.
I just used two I've heard
You pulled it out of the air.
Yeah.
I know you, Christine.
Well,
but
okay.
no, but so
is.
that 2 year old didn't do anything wrong. They're not on drugs. They're not alcoholics. Okay. And they're not criminals and they're not mentally ill. They're there because of circumstance. And I'm not saying that all homelessness is a victimless crime and you didn't do anything wrong and blah, blah, blah. You know, we don't need to get into those kind of questions about the rugged individuals and, just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Okay. But what it does illustrate is that there's a large portion of the population of the unsheltered which is there by happenstance. It's not because of any act of their own. And so the question is then, what do we do about it? And one answer is, well, try to improve overall the accessibility to shelter. And that if we can, and I had said this actually when I was campaigning, if we could help to locate some of our unsheltered occupants or residents, pardon me, and try to discern, okay, who is it who's suffering from mental illness, who's suffering from drug addiction, and look to the others who are there because they just had a bad break, and try to get them enough to get them back into a housed situation. And then from there, I would argue that those folks who were working before should be able to find work again and should be able to maintain themselves in a sheltered environment.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that because I agree with you.
Then I'm glad you said it too, because I love hearing people tell me I'm right.
It's a good conversation.
But you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. What I don't like to see is where people don't argue about the facts. They don't argue about the issues. They call each other names and they try to engage in character assassination instead, because that's not solving the problem.
And I think, and then now let's just bring
that takes us to the recall, doesn't it?
Yeah. I was just going to say, let's talk about this whole recall thing.
Nice segue. You want another softball here?
I know. Here, I think I have. But I do want to say, with everything that's gone on with the city council, and I am a resident of Arcadia, so I'm just going to be. I'm going to talk as a resident.
Then you're better than Stephanie Aiken, who doesn't even live here.
Okay. I'm going to speak on the behalf of Christine Zito, and if some of the residents agree with this is great. I have been disappointed in the council with everything that has gone on with all the arguments and, just all the nitpicking and, hey, you did this and stop doing that and we're going to silence you and, hey, how come this person?
So let's talk about that. So talking about this, and I appreciate that because I do hear people say to us, do we really have to go through all this? Does this really, it's a waste of time, and why is this so important? Okay, and the answer is that I don't have an objection to people who say, I have an idea, I want to give it a try, I want to do something. What I object to is people who don't try to establish whether or not that idea is something which is viable by talking to the subject matter experts in our city first, and then saying, okay, I spoke with the fire chief. He agrees with me that we could use a wildfire consultant. Okay, and this was something which Mayor Kwan had advanced, which was never discussed with the fire chief, never discussed with the city staff. It just was blurted out there, okay? And what I argue about that is that it was showboating. It's this kind of idea that I'm going to score political points because I'm so clever. Look at me. Look, Ma, no hands. Look how smart I am.
Do you really think Mayor Kwan is showboating and that she wants to put, is she in a place as a person that needs political points?
I don't know Mayor Kwan very well personally, although I tried to get to know her. My wife and I, Natalie's my wife, we tried to be her friend. And because, frankly, other members of the council had said, forget it, this person is not to be trusted, don't even bother. But I said, no, I'm going to give everybody a shot. I'm going to give them their chance to prove otherwise. And I was disappointed. Do I think that that's what Mayor Kwan does? Yes, I do. Okay. I'm sure of it. All right. And I'm sure that, quite frankly, that April Verlotto was behind it and that she had been advancing this because, quite frankly, Mayor Kwan was not using her own words. I know Mayor Kwan well enough to know that she's got limited English facility, okay? And the stuff she was saying is just stuff she wouldn't say. I speak the way I speak because I speak that way. If you heard me speak Chinese, you would know that I really don't speak Chinese. I'm really terrible. Horrible.
And if you tried, I wouldn't even know. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I went to Berkeley, and Berkeley has the best East Asian language program in the country. And I took 1 year of Chinese. I got a B-, a C+, and an F, and I was out of the program. Okay.
So, do you think April Verlotto is really
behind it, or
like whispering in the ear of Mayor Kwan?
Oh, absolutely. Saying, There's no question. There's no question.
And you can prove that?
Probably if we had to. I'm sitting on the dais with Mayor Kwan. Mayor Kwan is responding to things, and she's reading from her cell phone. Okay. Now, you're not writing on your cell phone because you can't be doing that and listening at the same time. That's just not the way our brains function. Okay. So. And yet, I'm watching the mayor reading from her phone, often mispronouncing words because you didn't write them. Once I heard her swap the word personal for personnel, okay, which is confusing, right? No, and I'm not trying to demean her or say that she's stupid. I'm just saying if you didn't if you didn't write it yourself. And you're a radio personality, or you were, right?
Yes,
and
very much.
Yeah. The difference when you write your own material, it's fairly easy for you to then present it in a way because you know where you're going, you know what's said.
Well, it'd be my story.
Right. Okay. But if someone just handed you a late breaking news here. Okay, and you say, okay, I'm reading this. This is just in, and that's where you say, and you start reading, and okay, no, I'm sorry, this was a mistake. No, I'm sorry, it was, injured.
This just in. Well, from experience, when someone gives you a rip and read, you do read it, and then you paraphrase it later.
Yeah, but that's not what we're seeing here.
Okay. So I'm just saying, in my experience with rip and read and radio. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so let's get to the recall.
You're talking about somebody who's a professional at that presentation. Okay.
Okay.
And so that's not what we see. But before we get to the recall, I just want to explain something that I think is a fair question from people, and I try to explain it. What went on was a variety of different kinds of behavior. as an example, besides this idea that the kind of showboating this thing and wasting city council time with proposals which really are unproven to be necessary. We also experienced that phenomenon with the endless teenagers going through City Hall, and you're laughing, okay, because it was funny, right? You know, had the kids who assumed the names of the Foo Fighters when they got up there to try to diss me, you know, yeah, and so you know, we had these teenagers going up and saying, "I'm concerned about the cost of fire insurance," and it's like, dude, you don't pay for the fire insurance in your house. Okay. Where are your parents? And the answer is, of course, is that for whatever reason, I think they were told this is a great thing you can do. You can put it on your college application that you spoke at Arcadia City Council. Like, that's going to impress a lot of people. And so they got up to try to make that point. The problem is we live in a democracy. And what you're doing is you are trying to manufacture evidence that the community is concerned about something. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that fire insurance is not a problem. Fire insurance is a huge problem all over the West, certainly in California, right here in District 1, because I live in Highland Oaks, and it's a high fire danger area. It's a big problem. But I don't want to hear little kids getting up at City Council and telling me how important this is because it happens to dovetail into somebody's assertion that we need a wildfire consultant. Okay? That's fake news. We don't need that. If you really think that your community is going to support an idea, then go to the people who are really affected by it, explain your position, and tell them, I would like for you to come to City Council and support me. All right? It's an artifice, and it's anti-democratic. It's wrong because you're trying to imply to people that something is there when it's not.
Okay, so you don't think that nobody in District 1 is interested in fire insurance? Or
no, it's not the point. The point is that the people who are there because they are personally interested in the issue and they believe
that City Council? Okay.
And should come to City Council and express that. And to be honest with you, I actually don't do that. I don't ask people to come to City Council. Okay. Excuse me 1 second.
Okay, go ahead. Well, while you're drinking water, it's is that you or is that me?
It's me.
Okay. Okay. Oh, you got the
my ding ding. Yeah.
Got it.
Round 2.
I thought it's 5:00 somewhere. Okay, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so there's a reason for this.
Okay.
And what I said was, hey, bullshit. Okay. you know. Okay. Beep.
Oh, I'm not bleeping that out.
No. Yeah. It's if you really have this issue. It was like the kids who said, "Oh, my name is Dave Grohl," from the Foo Fighters, right?
Right.
And I said, "That's funny." Okay. But I live in the video era, and we had taken the video and pieced it together and showed how these kids had the same buzzwords and taglines. It was clear that they had been scripted by someone,
right?
One person who had gave them the same.
So all the
points.
kids were scripted then to come to City Council and come up.
We had a 9-year-old who lived in Temple City come to City Council and call the City Council racist. Now, excuse me, you probably haven't noticed this. But I happened to observe the other day that all 5 of us are Asian. Okay. A 9-year-old from Temple City, 9 years old, came in and said, I don't live here, but I pass through Arcadia with some frequency, and I'm concerned that the City Council is racist. And then got expressed dissatisfaction with our treatment of the mayor. Okay.
Okay,
I'm sorry. That is fake. That is manufactured. I don't want little kids coming to City Council unless it's real, it's genuine,
Right.
And what you see is kids will say, I'm working on this project. I'm studying homelessness. I think that we could develop, a facility
well, do you think
where
those
we did
kids
this and that.
maybe be coming on the behalf of their parents, or maybe should the parents? Are you thinking?
I don't believe that for a New York nanosecond.
Okay. I'm just
if
putting it out there.
That kid's mom wrote a letter actually later on and said something like, because it was alleged at that point that he was part of another group, and the mom actually wrote a letter and said, okay, please read this at City Council. My son is not part of that group. She was not willing to be kind of part of this misrepresentation. She wasn't willing, however, to come to city council. And I don't blame her. Okay. I think that what happens is that for these kids is they don't realize that they're being manipulated. All right, that they're being used for some purpose. They're just saying, hey, I've got a great idea for you. Why don't you do this? That's like your buddy who says, hey, I just need to take this bag and drop it off at that boarded up house on the corner, knock 3 times and say, my name is Joe, and then drop the bag on the floor and somebody will pick it up. And I just too busy to do it myself. You are being used for some nefarious purpose. And that is wrong. It is wrong for us to encourage children to come to city council and make statements that are not genuine. They're not really their words. It is wrong for us to encourage children to come to city council and to just bag on city council and give fake names, because we don't have a way to really prevent that. We must allow people to speak at city council because it's an open forum and we're not allowed to edit that in any way. But when we encourage people to come here and waste our time and give us funny names and pretend that they believe in something, right. I think it's a bridge too far. Okay, we're no longer encouraging young people to take action. Now we're encouraging young people to be manipulated by others and to have a fun laugh on the Arcadia City Council. And I don't want to see that.
Let's talk about your recall.
Sure.
So you're being recalled.
So I'm being recalled because of the censure against the mayor. Okay. That's exactly really what it says. That it was without evidence, that it was retaliatory, and basically other times they tried to do this 4 times. It's taken them a long time to get it together. Okay, but basically that it's like driven by my own ego and ambition. Right. Well, first of all, I was one of 4 people who voted for the censure. I just brought the motion. Okay. And the other 3 happened to agree with me. The second thing is that all the evidence for the censure was video evidence from city council meetings. All I did was show the video. And so we showed the video of the mayor denigrating Dr. Michael Cow for his military service because she said, "Don't tell me you're a veteran. I checked into your background. You didn't carry a gun." Dr. Cow spent 10 years active duty. Active duty. This isn't like some plush job at Walter Reed. This was active duty front line in Iraq and Afghanistan. And in his unit, according to the description online, what they do is they're basically flying he was Air Force. They're flying in a mobile hospital. They fly into the combat zone. They evacuate injured troops and they take them out. It is way freaking dangerous. Okay. And what I observed during the censure motion was that according to the United States Army, over 200 medical personnel have been killed in action since the Vietnam era. It's not a safe thing to do, okay? And I have tremendous respect for Dr. Cow.
Oh, I do too. My grandpa was a medic in the Army, World War II.
It's you are saving lives, okay? And you're saving lives in an environment where a lot of people are taking lives. And that's just part of the hypocrisy or the contradictions of what war is about. But to try to denigrate a service member, and then she said, "I've done a lot more because I've given millions of dollars to veterans." Well, so there are 4 taboos in that, and politically speaking. Number 1, you denigrated a doctor, which people don't like. Number 2, you denigrated a veteran. Number 3, you denigrated a doctor who is a veteran. And number 4, you bragged about your money. Okay? And you don't do that in politics unless you want to be out of politics.
Right. And you have all of that on videotape?
Of course. I didn't make it up. Yeah. It was right there.
So
have you seen it, by the way?
I've seen some of it. I didn't see I only heard about her degrading.
Oh, honey, we'll show you all kinds of stuff later.
So but I've heard other things too. But I've also heard other things from all city councils. So it's because I would have. Okay, so the censor. I mean, what's it?
Censure.
Censure. I'm sorry. Censure. is keeping her from saying certain things.
No, it's not, actually. And that's why I made the distinction. People are getting confused with censorship, like I'm censoring you, like you're a radio person. We were joking about my BS comment a little bit earlier. So censorship is when a viewpoint or a particular words or even visual conduct, I suppose, are prevented from being transmitted to somebody else for some reason. Okay. A censure is a public reprimand of a member of a body for behavior which is inconsistent with the values of that body. And that was really the issue, is that we don't want people to come in, advance pointless positions which are unnecessary and unresearched and unproven, not really adequately vetted, in order to try to just create some kind of political recognition, I guess. Look how smart I am, And but it was much more than that. Again, it was, in my view, was this anti-democratic conduct of taking people, seating the audience, pretending that they're expressing a legitimate viewpoint, when in fact these are people who couldn't possibly hold that motivation. These kids are not writing the checks for fire insurance. If you went to their parents and said, "You're concerned about this, your son is concerned about it, please come together and come to city council and do this," okay, then I don't have a problem with that. Fire insurance, it's a real thing. I'm lucky mine has been picked up, but my neighbors haven't been picked up, and we're all stuck with Fair Plan. That's okay. I've got no problem with that. It's not the question of viewpoint. It's the question of who is behind this and orchestrating it, and for what purpose. And that is artificial, and it's disingenuous to believe that it's organic.
So it's not necessarily that Mayor Kwan can't say certain things. It's just being reprimanded for...
Yeah, no, she can say what she wants to say. Okay. What we did was we agreed that all of us would limit our comments to certain areas.
Okay.
And so, but there were also personal attacks and things of that nature. She did it with me, and you wanted to talk about the recall, okay?
Yeah, the recall. So you're being, yeah. So this is all about the recall. Is the whole
Well, they're saying that that my conduct against the mayor was retaliatory. And actually, it's the other way around, that this recall is retaliatory because I was the one who spearheaded the censure, because I made the motion. And, that's fine. Bring it. This is what I said that during council.
So for me, in just what you're saying, the only thing is how's the city doing? So that's where...
The city is doing great, okay? So let's talk about it.
Yeah, that's what... Real fast, because we do... Okay. To summarize that, the recall is basically an attack on your... Yeah,
but it's this weird vanity project because it's never going to happen, okay? It's really, really hard to recall an elected official in any place. And I think it's going to be impossible here.
Yeah.
For one thing, it's interesting. I've talked to a lot of people just kind of, in the community, outside the community, in our adjacent communities. And they all come to me and say this, and they go, "What the heck is going on with these guys? What are they thinking?" Because this kind of assertion that, no, there was no there was no evidence. You're kidding me. My presentation went on for 2 hours. It was all video, And so it's... They're really kind of, whistling past the graveyard. But what they have done is they convinced a handful of people that, David Fu's a bad guy and he's got whatever his agenda is. That's fine. For somebody who doesn't have an open mind, you're not going to change their mind. So don't bother. They're not worth your time. Okay. But for anybody who is interested in what happened, I will tell you, we have a wonderful website at the city of Arcadia, arcadiaca.gov. Go to the meetings and agendas tab on our website, and you can look at any city council meeting. Pull August 29th, and just fast forward about an hour and watch the presentation that I did. But pack a lunch, because you're going to be there for a while, and you'll see that I methodically point out all these places where it's quite clear that someone, and namely the mayor, with whatever help she had contrived to set up people to, give her softballs, to try to aggrandize her image and things like that. It's not necessary. You already won your election. You're there, okay? You don't need people to come up and tell you, oh, you're the greatest person in the world and you're my total role model. And I think that you have, that you're this amazing woman and that you've made all these achievements. It's like, okay, yeah, so what? What does it have to do with anything here? To me, what really capped it was, one of the things was that there was a young woman that they gave a commendation to for speaking at city council meetings for her bravery, okay, for 10 minutes of public comment. And I said, so here's the juxtaposition, is that this woman you gave a commendation to for her bravery to come before the city council and call us names, basically. But Dr. Cow spends 10 years in active duty in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you think he's not really a veteran, okay? I mean, it's colossally stupid, and it's tone deaf. And it's an offense to our community. It was poorly reflective on our community. And most people I talked to say that the mayor did not really shine in any of those moments. So, but as far as it being fake, just watch it. I didn't manipulate the video. It's all straight there. You can go back to the meetings that I excerpted and pull it from there if you want.
And there was no censorship there. So,
right.
But you know what? There's so many things I want to... you'll have to come back in and we can continue.
Oh, look, we're out of time.
I know. But I thank you for coming in. You had you said a lot of good things, and I think that all the city council people are doing good things for the city of Arcadia. I think some of it has gotten sidetracked with all the stuff that has gone on in the city council meetings.
But let me make one point about that, okay? And that is that all the work that we need to do is getting done. Okay. I mean, the city has a balanced budget. We're likely to show a substantial surplus this year. We have our fire department is fully staffed for the first time in years. This was a labor contract that Mayor Kwan and Ms. Verlato voted against. But because we are now paying our firefighters with a competitive wage, we now have a fully staffed fire department. Our police department is still rebuilding, but they too are competitive now. The most important things in the city to the people who live here are services, of course, but mostly public safety. And so those things are absolutely secure.
Yes.
And there's nothing that we're not, quote, not getting done. And that's because we have a great city with a great city staff, and they take care of business.
I love this city. I can honestly say that I love the city of Arcadia. I love being here. I love working here. And I love being in downtown Arcadia. And that's why we have this show, so we can hear the good news of what you guys and gals are doing in the city. So,
but we don't have to, we don't need a lot of self-aggrandizement for that. You voted for us to do a job. We're going to do it, and if we're not going to do it, then vote us out. Okay.
Yes,
but we don't have to blow our horns and say, "Oh, look at me, I'm so smart." it's dumb. It's really dumb.
Oh, you are quite the character.
Believe me.
You know what? It's been great to get to know you in this conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine. I really appreciate the opportunity.
We will continue this conversation, but I do want to thank our. I need to go back to my sponsor. See, you made me lose my sponsor here. It's your fault. That's it.
It's yes. Well, okay, recall me. I'm recalling you as a guest.
I would like to thank our sponsors: Longo Toyota, Lexus in El Monte, Star 7 Financial with Francine Chu, the Santa Anita Park, which is just right down the street here, the Le Meridien Hotel in Arcadia and Pasadena. Until next time on Arcadia FYI, be blessed and make it a great day.